Hey there, everyone! Today we're going to delve into the true nature of One Piece, taking into account some actual insights from the man himself, Oda Sensei. I hope you'll stick around till the end of this deep dive. And if you find this channel entertaining, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button. Remember Chapter 1045? We saw Luffy geared up into his fifth form, engaged in an intense face-off with Kaido in the climactic moments of Wano arc. Amidst the craziness of that freewheeling battle, Kaido drops a phrase that caught my attention. He called it just like a fable. I believe this line might be a pivotal hint. In a conversation between Oda Sensei, the creator of One Piece, and Aoyama Sensei, the creator of Detective Conan, Oda spoke about this battle. He said to picture the fighting style as if he were writing Tom and Jerry. He also mentioned that it's a kind of cartoony, fable-like fighting scene. Furthermore, he admitted that he had always wanted to do this, even if he knew it might rub some people the wrong way. I know that when Gear 5 was first introduced, some readers felt it was too outlandish or suspected that Nika was just an afterthought. However, looking at this in the light of Oda Sensei's words, I believe it was a core concept he had been eager to release, something that had to be penned down. Even if it may invite the reader's displeasure, there should be a reason that can be agreed upon after writing. In SBS of Volume 105, it is spoken like, a picture book is a picture book, and a picture story is something like manga. But there's no concept of speech balloons. From this, it can be inferred that in Mr. Oda's mind, picture books and picture stories are clearly defined and separated. For instance, those with abilities have the weakness of losing their power in the sea. Like in a bath, pool, or anywhere water accumulates, their power fades. And then, in the Calm Belt, there are sea kings. It's fundamentally impossible to pass through. But Navy battleships can because their bottoms are lined with sea stone. One of the charms of One Piece, I believe you all agree, is the carefully crafted settings. However, in this SBS of Volume 105, it became clear that picture stories are also well defined. Feeling anew Mr. Oda's meticulousness, I thought this development was important. Abilities like rubber, which I have mentioned a few times in videos, are actually manga abilities, and Tezuka Osamu's works are embedded throughout One Piece. For example, Lo is Blackjack, Bonnie is Mysterious Mermo, and I think even Vegapunk represents Tezuka Osamu himself. And I believe that the character who will become important in the final chapter is Tezuka Osamu. What this god of manga left behind is a book called How to Draw Manga, published in 1977. At that time, it was a book that all aspiring manga artists seemed to have. This book covers everything from the very way of drawing manga, what it means to draw a picture, to the tools necessary for drawing. In it, there's a section on how to draw characters, and there's a point like this. Manga characters are rubber humans. If aliens were to examine humans and got hold of a manga book and saw the characters in it, they would think humans must be boneless creatures. That's right, there are no bones or joints in manga characters. There is also an illustration that says, no matter how much it stretches or bends, it's not legally punishable. In other words, manga separates itself from intricate paintings. You don't have to worry too much about muscles or joints or fine details. It's okay to draw freely. That's the teaching. Mr. Oda has not actually stated that he has read this book. However, I believe that the setting of Luffy being a rubber human was inspired from here. That's why I think that with the Gomu Gomu fruit, the final awakening becomes an ability like Nika's manga. What is said to be the origin of Japanese manga is a series of paintings of various animals, such as rabbits and turtles, called shoujubiga. Because shoujubiga is a playful painting, I imagine it's fun to think that Luffy's technique is not actually giant, but it's bun to gigant. Here's a hypothesis. If the sun god Nika's fruit has the ability like a picture story, there must exist the picture story in which Nika is depicted itself, whether it's real or imaginary. Moreover, the government has been chasing the sun god Nika's fruit for 800 years, trying to collect it. In other words, they must have been desperate to hide it. What are the minimum 5 conditions for the identity of One Piece? 1. It must exist in reality. 2. It made Roger's pirates laugh until they cried. 3. It's something the world government wants to hide. 4. It becomes a reward for Luffy and his friends. 5. It overturns the world. Point 3 is crucial. It's not originally owned by the world government, and it doesn't seem like something they hid. Since it makes no sense to leave it in Raftel, Let's consider that Joy Boy, who was oppressed by organizations like the world government, benefited. Now, let me say the conclusion first. The true identity of One Piece that meets this minimum condition that the world government desperately wants to hide. That is, a picture story like a gag manga with Sun God Nika as the protagonist. And the author of that is Joy Boy. That's why Roger named the last island Raftel, which means laugh-tailed, isn't it? That laugh-tail itself is One Piece. The continuation of the void history was entrusted to the strong and wise ones who could reach Raftel, the goal of the Grand Line. Here, you might think, wait, Joy Boy is the author? Wasn't Joy Boy like a warrior of liberation? An author, despite being a warrior? In One Piece, it has been depicted many times that those who fight also write books. For example, it's at the end of Sabo's dream, or Usopp's statement in Dressrosa. An onion of the Usopp pirates is also a case. Oden also left a travelogue, and according to it, Roger's pirates learned all of history in Raftel. I feel that it would be difficult to pass on without something like a book to convey over 100 years. The original text is ambiguous about the condition of the work located in Raftel, but could it not be a book that records all of history, a One Piece equal a single great treasure? Robin is always searching for poneglyphs, but everywhere she says, this isn't it. Roger brought all 9 Ryo poneglyphs to Raftel. It is said that the entirety of the void history appears when you read those 9 in different orientations or somehow line them up and connect the sentences. I think what is in Raftel that can be read, when combined into one, is something like an embodiment of that story. From here, the story involves elements of speculation, incorporating uncertainties such as the ancient weapon, the Red Line, and Joy Boy. Firstly, regarding the ancient weapon, the names of the ancient weapons Uranus, Poseidon, and Pluton are borrowed from Greek mythology. This Greek mythology is a story of the world of gods, but there was an event that involved even the human world. That is the Trojan War. To put it very simply, it is a conflict that involved the human world, with 3 goddesses fighting over one man. In One Piece, only Poseidon appears as a beautiful woman named Shirahoshi, but I speculate that all 3 of the ancient weapons were beautiful women in the past. Joy Boy may have written that they were weapons, equating their beauty and destructive power. However, I think that this interpretation was distorted over time, and in modern times, it has been passed down as if they were actual weapons. When thinking about the Red Line, there is a creature in the world of One Piece that I think is very important. That is the Island Eater. Nami once said, the Red Line is, so to speak, a continuous collection of islands. There are summer islands and winter islands. In other words, it's not just one mass of bedrock. Could it be that the Island Eater, which has the ability to consume islands, created this unique terrain? The surprising thing about this creature is not just its size. It's the size and length of its excrement after consuming an island. In the series, the giants Dory and Brogy, who are nearly 10 times the size of humans, mistook the continent for an island. The Island Eater is a giant goldfish. Goldfish excrement is long and stretchy, right? The fact that they focused on the size and length of the Island Eater's excrement being large and long enough to be mistaken for a continent is truly remarkable. If it's not an island but a continent, then considering that the smallest continent in the real world is Australia, you can understand how large it must be. With this in mind, what is the truth of the history depicted in the gag comic? Hidden on Raftel, the identity of One Piece. A long time ago, there was a man named Nika. Nika was a man who always danced and sang cheerfully, making people laugh and freeing them from their suffering. He traveled the world on the back of a large elephant, along with the joyful rhythm of his drum. Nika was a hardy man who loved and was loved by 3 women at the same time. The 3 women, Poseidon, Uranus, and Pluton, were as alluring as weapons. One day, the 3 women found out that they were not the most loved by Nika, and they became angry with him. Nika, in his distress, ran away. The women chased after him. The storm of love they caused grew larger and larger. In the midst of this, Nika accidentally crushed a baby goldfish. The family of the goldfish, angered, chased after Nika. Because the goldfish eat islands, the islands of the world rapidly shrank. By the time Nika had run all the way around the world, the excrement of the goldfish that had eaten the islands had connected all the way around, and a large continent had formed. In the end, Nika disappeared after saying, I'm going to escape to the moon. Since then, people have aimed for the moon, but Nika has not been found at all. According to a certain story, Nika actually escaped to the sun. Perhaps Nika is now the god of the sun, brightening up the world. What do you think? When I imagine what's on Raftel, I think it might be something like this. Have you all seen the cover of Volume 103? Nika is the legendary sun god. However, the moon is drawn in the background of this cover. Everyone was deceived. There's a story that he went to the moon, but actually went to the sun. So I think the background of the cover featuring Luffy as Nika is the moon. Perhaps Joy Boy, the author, did not so much create this story, as he compiled the folklore of Nika during his travels around the world. In the world of One Piece, the year 1120 of the Sea Circle calendar was mentioned 400 years ago. Therefore, the year 0 in the Sea Circle calendar was 1520 years ago, and I believe that Nika existed in a form like the ancient giant tribe at that time. Joy Boy compiled the story of Nika 900 years ago, who really existed 1520 years ago, and hid it. I've also speculated about why the world government wants to hide it. One of them is, wouldn't it be embarrassing to live on top of the giant goldfish's excrement? People seek safety and live in Marijo on the Red Line, but it would be quite embarrassing if it was revealed that it's actually poop, right? Roger and his crew might have laughed their heads off, knowing that the snobbish celestial dragons are living on top of poop. When you know the truth of history and laugh at the same time, doesn't it feel like a rather silly and amusing story instead of a dark story about slaves? I'm also looking forward to finding out more about this in the future. In One Piece, it's Enel who went to the moon. After being defeated by Luffy, Enel regained consciousness and embarked on a journey to the ambitions of Fairy Verf aboard the Ark Maxim. The subsequent state of Enel is often depicted in the illustrations of the comic book. When Enel arrived at the moon, he learned about the moon, encountered space pirates, and made them his subordinates. Upon closer observation, you will notice that Enel is always tilting his head. Why did Enel want to go to the moon? At this point, this is conjecture, but I believe that Enel likely knew about the story of Nika, which is passed down as a legend in the Sky Island Burka. According to the story of Burka, Nika went to the moon, and perhaps he was inspired by this boisterous man and wanted to go. However, judging from Enel's expression, it seems like he thought, this is different from what I expected. That's why he's tilting his head, right? In that world, the idea that the moon was so developed is a bit too much, isn't it? I believe that culture is not passed down from above, but rather it climbs from below. This is because all the space pirates that can enter the moon are robots, and the only living human being seems to be Enel. Let's also incorporate some stories about Emu from here on out. There are still many mysteries about Emu, aren't there? So this is also speculation, but I think Emu liked the story of Nika and admired Joy Boy. That's why I think that the giant straw hat is the one that Joy Boy wore. It seems like it is carefully preserved to prevent it from deteriorating. Assuming that this admiration is related to the desire to be immortal, let's continue the conversation. For 800 years, Emu has been continuously writing about the world, like a letter to the sky, and sending it off in balloons. These balloons contain various inventions and aspects of culture. Balloons that arrive at the Sky Island Baron Terminal. What if these balloons are not just a collection of balloons that children have lost, but a collection of balloons that Emu has been flying for 800 years? Most of the balloons may have stopped at the Baron Terminal, but some of them may have reached the moon. And the robots saw that culture and simply depicted it in wall paintings. So, the current state of the moon is not the result of culture being transmitted from the moon to the blue planet, but the result of continuously sending culture from the blue planet to the moon. There are two layers to the Sky Island. One is the White Sea at an altitude of 7,000 meters, and the other is the White Sea at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Have you ever wondered why these are divided? Baron Terminal is in the White Sea at an altitude of 10,000 meters. The location of Sky Island Burka is not explicitly stated, but I believe it is in the White Sea. Some of the balloons at this Baron Terminal burst, and the culture and information inside these burst balloons reached Enel's hometown. In other words, the balloons that reached above became the Burka on the moon, and the balloons that reached below became the Burka on the Sky Island. This could be why they have the same place names and similar cultures, and I believe this is the story that surrounds Enel and Emu. Emu admired Nika and wanted to eat this sun god Nika's fruit, but ended up eating the sun god Ra's ability, didn't he? How did you all find today's video? It was a video full of speculation, but it's fun to speculate about the true nature of One Piece like this, isn't it? The interplay of various elements is one of the great charms, isn't it? This channel posts summaries, explanations, and ranking videos related to One Piece. If you like One Piece, we would be happy if you could support us by subscribing to our channel and commenting. Thank you for watching till the end. See you in the next video.